all leads back to a problem called leaky gut. Who's heard this word before? Lots of people. How do you get leaky gut? Leaky gut is actually, by definition, an inflammatory response in the digestive lining that causes what we normally have are these, what we call villi, which are the things that absorb your food. And now, just for lack of a better demonstration, use my fingers. And when we get inflammatory response, the villi do this. And as the villi do this, larger food particles can pass through and get into the bloodstream, and then those end up getting into the bloodstream sooner than they're supposed to and not completely broken down like they're supposed to, and then parts of your cell system get attacked in that clump by your immune system, and it triggers an autoimmune response. Why does leaky gut happen? Why do we have so much of that today? Gluten, but then God made gluten too. So let's go back even more than just gluten, because you're right, there's gluten, but then what the heck happened to gluten? Right? And then there's corn, and what happened to corn? And then there's all kinds of things that we're getting exposed to today called GMOs. And the genetically modified food particles are not just wash chemicals off your food, but it is actually in the DNA of the food, so that it not only produces these super foods that they're bigger or they're more productive, right? One corn stalk would normally produce 1 or 2 ears, now they produce 4 or 5, and they're bigger and they have more corn kernels on it and all that kind of stuff. And then we go, wow, look, we solved the world's problem for starvation. But instead, we're feeding people things that even the bugs won't eat. And why won't the bugs eat it? Because, anybody ever see a video on this? Where they show a little silkworm eating corn that is GMO'd, and it actually gets in the little 1-tube digestive tract of the silkworm and it blows up. Wow. And they die, and then the silkworms figure out, I'm not going to go eat that anymore, right? And so then they don't eat it, and then everybody goes, wow, look at this bug-free corn. Well, you got to start asking questions why you would want to eat it if the bugs don't want to eat it, and if it inflames a bug enough to blow it up, then what's it microscopically doing slowly to your body over time? The exact same thing, right? And so that's why people can have things show up. And I'll tell you this story, which I haven't shared yet, so I'm glad that it kind of directed me to get to this point, but my reason I'm here and my story of what I went through to get where I am today. I grew up in chiropractic care, so I've been getting adjusted since I was 10 years old. So chiropractic was never a question in my mind, nor was it ever a question in my mind whether health was going to come from a pill outside my body or something from inside. So I learned and grew up that health was something God put in your body and came from the inside out, not from a pill outside in. But growing up with that philosophy and understanding still didn't necessarily teach me to know how to avoid the other 5 essentials that we teach you guys about. And I thought I ate pretty healthy. I didn't eat terribly bad, but I knew nothing about GMOs. I knew nothing about allergies. I ate, food just like everybody else does and not paying any attention to that kind of stuff. And 14 years ago now, I got sick with a fever. And I did what I always do whenever I've gotten sick with a fever is I get in bed and I drink lots of water, put the covers on me, and I get adjusted and I wait and sweat it out. And then usually overnight, the next day it's gone. Well, the next day this one wasn't gone. And it was really painful. I had achy joints everywhere. And then the 3rd day still wasn't gone. I just kept on. I drank smoothies because I couldn't really keep much of anything else down, but I kept myself hydrated. Waited. By the 3rd day, the fever finally broke. And 2 days after that, my body broke out in a rash everywhere. My whole entire body got a rash. And so then as I got rash happening, and then that rash kind of calmed down, and within 2 weeks after this whole episode, I started having really painful feet when I got it. It was the weirdest thing I never experienced before, but like my feet on the tops and in the joints, my feet were hurting. I got out of bed and I couldn't barely walk. And I noticed my hands were a little bit stiff, but I just kept on going and I went to work, and another 2 or 3 days later, my knees and my elbows hurt, almost exactly at the same time, next joint. And then it worked its way up to my shoulders and my hips, and I literally was getting out of bed, curled up, and walking like Tim Conway, and could not move. And I was still going to the office because I'm a crazy lady and I keep going, but I was literally adjusting patients wincing because it hurt incredibly up my entire arm. And I'm 43 years old at the time going, what the heck is happening to me? And my husband was saying the same things enough times, he finally said to me, after this went on for a couple weeks, if you don't do something right now, I'm taking your butt to the hospital. And I'm like, no hospitals, I don't go to the hospital. So I'm sitting on the toilet, this is a personal conversation, it's early in the morning, my husband just said this and went off to work, I'm sobbing, trying to figure out what am I gonna do, praying. Lord, just show me what is it you need me to do right now. And my friend, when we all of course carry our phones to the bathroom with us, right? She calls me while we're there. And I tell her what's going on and she said, oh my gosh, I bet you have a gluten allergy. Let me tell you about this. Let me tell you about Max Living. Introduced me to Max Living at the time and showed me how to change my diet. And within 48 hours of eating no sugar, no grain, which also meant I was eating everything organic and nothing with GMOs in it. 48 hours later, all the inflammation in my body left my body and every joint in my body went back to normal. Now that wasn't just the end of the story because it took me an entire year to get my immune system back to normal again because I had to heal, right? But I was on a healing path and I started to learn more about toxins and I started to learn more about the right kind of foods and the right kind of exercise and the right way to heal my body and the right kinds of stuff to put in my body. While I did corrective care for my spine, I did the right nutrition things and changed the way I was taking care of my body, right? And I'm now 56 next month. And I don't have any of that stuff happening in my body. And I never took a pill. And I still to this day don't take drugs, would not take drugs. And so that's what got me into teaching all of you guys this kind of stuff. And as I started to teach more and more patients, I started to see that this is not just a problem with an inflammatory, achy joint thing. This is really literally the problem that many people are struggling with in our country and don't know the solution or what to do different about it.
So please stay away from all grain.